What percentage would you say, in just rough ballpark, of sellers that you interact with that actually need cash now? Like they've just got to sell.
I mean, not as often as you would think. Like they might be in a distressed point, but it's not fire sale time, like where they have to have that money in 7 days or less. We encounter them, but I would have to say it's probably 10% or less. And I'd actually almost venture to say it's probably 5% or less that's actually where they need it that second. Because I mean, if you need it that second, those are typically the best deals because, in order to make money move that quickly, it's got to be a good enough price that it makes sense to, get all of the, wheels in motion to make that happen. Because if that's the case, right, we've got to get our title company to make sure, or attorney, to make sure they can get on title right away and have it closed and clear their books. We got to get the money in place if we're buying it ourselves, or find the buyer to put their funds in place. And sometimes to get them to move fast enough, we've got to offer it to them at an even more discount than we normally would if we had time for it. But how often it happens, it's not as regular as you would think. And that's a good point to make, because everyone thinks they have to have this thing sold in 4 days or less, but that's not true.
No, and if you said 5, maybe 10% or less, who knows? But it's small. And the point I was driving, which I mean you elaborated on, is if you go in and that's the problem you're trying to solve, because that's your sales script, they may tune you out, or they may put less emphasis on the relationship you're really building with them. And you're going to go with someone like you who's actually going to spend time and have a conversation. And then you realize that, hey, they don't really need cash. They actually just need help getting the family member who's still in there out. And at that point, but they also need, they don't want to sell now. They want to make sure they sell on January 1st, because they don't want the capital gains to hit on this tax year. Or they want it to hit next tax year. Any one of the many other value points that are pain points that they may have that's not necessarily financial related.
That's so true. And you could also be putting undue stress on yourselves. Don't forget, people that are out there watching and listening to this is our business too. And we don't have to cowtail to sellers, right? We want to work with them, but it's got to be a win-win. And sometimes I think, especially as people are getting started, or if you're in a survival mode position in your business, we almost give up all of our power. And I'm not saying that in like a dominance way or anything that's, negative, but remember, it's got to be a good fit. Otherwise, you're going to end up spending a lot of time, have a lot of stress, and then probably not making as much as you normally think. Right? If I think I'm gonna make 100 grand, yeah, I'll get drugged through mud for a little while. But if it always seems to be the ones that are the biggest problems, or we're adding the most stress to ourselves, it's like for the $500 to $1,000 deal, and we're just doing it because we're people of our word and want to make sure we get deals closed for these sellers. But they always tend to give us the most problems. So at times it might not make sense to even work with certain sellers. I've fired sellers before just because they were too challenging to deal with. And remember that this is our business and we get to run it the way we want to. And I think people lose sight of that sometimes.